Hello, and today we're going to start talking about solving systems of equations using elimination. Now, I don't have many problems for you to do, but I am going to explain these in depth. So what I need you guys to do is to turn on your volume and make sure you're listening. And if you're not listening, I'm going to write this right now. Turn on the volume. There we go. And if you just turned on the volume, hi, welcome. All right, here we go. So today we're going to work on solving systems of equations by elimination. We have already learned the other two methods of graphing and substitution. With elimination, we can add or subtract equations to eliminate a variable. All right, so what I need you to do is, you don't necessarily need to copy this down, but what I need you to do is write down the equation on the next slide, and then I need you to follow along with me in your notes as I go through it. So I have a system of equations right here. I'm going to give you a second to copy this down right now. If you need to, pause the video. So I have 5x minus 6y equals negative 32 and 3x plus 6y equals 48. When we were working with substitution, what we would have done here is solved one of these equations for a variable and then plugged that in to the other equation. Now with elimination, what we are going to be doing is basically adding up the two equations together to eliminate or get rid of one of the variables. So I have 5x minus 6y equals negative 32 and 3x plus 6y equals 48. In order for you to eliminate a variable using the elimination method, when you combine the two equations, two of the coefficients of one of the variable have to cancel out. So if I look right here, I have negative 6y and positive 6y. And so if I added these two equations together, I would combine like terms. So I get 5x plus 3x equals 8x. But then I have negative 6y plus 6y. Well, negative 6 plus 6 eliminate. So I just eliminated my y variable. It's basically like saying plus 0y. But we don't even need the plus 0y, so I'm not even going to include it. And then negative 32 plus 48 gives me positive 16. And so now that I eliminated my y variable, all I have left is my x. So I need to solve for x. I'm going to divide both sides by 8, and I get x equals 2. I was able to eliminate my y variables because the negative 6 and positive 6 cancel out. I'm combining these two linear equations in my system to solve for x, and the y's canceled out. Well, I just solved for x equals 2. So now I'm going to take that, and just like before, once you get one of your answers, I'm going to plug it into one of my equations. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm just going to plug it into the bottom one. So I get 3x, we just found out x equals 2, plus 6y equals 48. And so now I simplify. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 6y equals 48. Subtract 6 from both sides. I get 6y equals 42. Divide both sides by 6. And I get y equals 7. So the solution to the system of equations would be 2, 7. And I can double check that by plugging them into my two equations. If I plug in 2 for x and 7 for y, I get 10 minus 42, and that does equal negative 32. Over here I get 6 plus 42, and that does equal 48. So my solution is 2, 7. Alright, try this next one on your own. Pause the video if you need to. So by elimination, I noticed that I can cancel out my x variables because I have positive 6 and negative 6. Those two cancel out. And then I'm going to combine my y's. Well, I have negative 3y plus 5y. I'm down 3 y's, and I just gained 5 y's. I'm now at positive 2y. And then 3 plus 3 is 6. So I was able to eliminate my x variable. And now I can solve for y. So I get 2y equals 6, divide both sides by 2, and I end up with y equaling 3. Then, I'm going to plug it into one of my equations. It doesn't matter which one. And I'm going to solve for x. So I get 6x minus 3 times 3 equals 3. Simplify, I get 6x minus 9 equals 3. If I add 9 to both sides, I get 6x equals 12. Divide both sides by 6. X equals 2. So my solution is at 2, 3. Alright, so now let's look at this one. I have 2x plus 5y equals negative 22, and 10x plus 3y equals positive 22. So the first thing you might have noticed is that I have negative 22 and positive 22, and you think, oh, those cancel out. Correct, those will cancel out, but we're trying to eliminate one of our variables, not just numbers. So this right here, negative 22 and positive 22, that's just a coincidence. That doesn't matter. Now let's look at our variables. I have x and y. Well, off the bat, none of these coefficients will cancel out with each other. So one trick you can do when you're solving systems of equations by elimination is you can multiply an entire equation by a number in order to cancel out a variable. So I notice I've got 3 and 5, and I've got 2 and 10. Well, I know that if I multiply my top equation by 5, 5 times 2 is going to give me 10x. And down here I have 10x. But remember, in order for the two variables to eliminate, they also have to be the opposite signs. So since this is positive 10x, I need this to be negative 10x. So I'm going to multiply the entire equation by negative 5. And I multiply all 3 terms by negative 5. So when I do that, I'm going to end up with negative 10x, because negative 5 times 2 is negative 10, minus 25y equals positive 110. And if it helps, put a small line such as that through the equation that you just changed, so you know not to use it anymore. Now, since I just multiplied this by 2x by negative 5, it gave me negative 10x, I can cancel out my 10x's now. Positive 10 minus 10 gives me 0. 3y minus 25y gives me negative 22y. And 22 plus 110 gives me 132. If I divide both sides by negative 22, I'm going to end up with y equaling negative 6. Then, I'm going to take it and plug it into one of my equations. I'm going to plug it into 10x plus 3y equals 22. And I get 10x plus 3 times negative 6 equals 22. So 10x equals 3 times negative 6 is minus 18. 22, add 18 to both sides. I get 10x equals 40. Divide both sides by 10. X equals 4. So your solution is a 4 minus 6. Alright, try this one. Remember, in this one, multiply one of the equations by a number in order to cancel out a variable. Think, are you going to do something with negative 2 and 7, or are you going to do something with positive 15 and negative 5? If you need to, pause the video right now and solve this on your own. So I noticed that it's easier to work with 15 and 5 rather than 2 and 7. So I'm going to take my bottom equation and I'm going to multiply it by 3 in order to get 15 and 15. Also, I noticed that my top equation is positive 15, and if I multiply my bottom equation by 3, I'm going to get negative 15. And so I'm going to get 21x minus 15y equals 17 times 3 is 51. Remember to multiply all three terms in the equation. 7x, negative 5y, and 17. And so then, since I'm done with that equation, I'm going to put a line through it. And now combine like terms. Negative 2x plus 21x is 19x. 15 minus 15, those cancel out. And so I'm solving for x, and then I have negative 32 plus 51, that gives me positive 19. Divide both sides by 19, and I get x equals 1. Then I'm going to plug it into one of my equations. I'm going to choose the top equation. I get negative 2 times 1 plus 15y equals negative 32. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Then I add 2 to both sides. And I'm left with 15y equals negative 32 plus 2 is negative 30. Divide both sides by 15. Y equals negative 2. So the solution is 1, negative 2. Hopefully you got that. There's a KIA quiz. Don't forget to take the KIA quiz so you can get credit for this video. If you have any questions, save them for tomorrow. We'll discuss this tomorrow in class. Other than that, I hope you took some good notes, and I will talk to you tomorrow. If you forgot your KIA login, send me an email and I will remind you, because I have all your login information. Thanks, and I hope it went well. See you later.